And good morning. So my name is Didem Altop, and I have the pleasure of following amazing speakers. But I also have the pleasure of introducing you to our own panel of amazing speakers. Today we're going to be talking about corporations and their role in social impact. And with us we have Ümran Beba, who's the former Chief Global Diversity and Engagement Officer of PepsiCo. She's also the co-founder of the Beba Innovation and Entrepreneurship Foundation and a partner at August Leadership Executive Search Agency. We have with us Emine Sabancı Kamışlı, who's the chair of Esas Sosyal, which we all love and adore. We're going to hear more about that, as well as the co-chair of Esas Holding. And then we have with us Sinan Uzan, who's the founder and president of Tekfen Ventures. And it's a pleasure to have you all here with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So my name is Didem Altop, and I'm also one of the, let's say, spearheads of the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Turkey, the corporate social, before that, the corporate social responsibility arena. And now lately, of course, we've also recently launched a venture capital fund supporting Turkish tech companies in the United States. So all of these things dovetail for me from my point of view. Maybe 20 years ago, we used to talk about the triple bottom line. And then 10 years ago, we used to talk about corporate social responsibility. But now we're talking about the convergence. We're really talking about conscious capitalism. And it's really interesting to see how these organizations have really become spearheads in innovating new business models to align business goals with social impact goals. And typically, we start with name introductions and titles, but I really want to make this personal because there is a mindset that goes along with being able to reconcile business goals with social impact goals. And I do want to have a little journey with you today as to how you were first introduced to the idea of not just personal leadership, not just business leadership, but social leadership. So how did that start with you? And maybe we can just do a quick tour. Ümran Hanım, may we start with you?
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks to Turkish Philanthropy Funds for the event and invitation. So I come from a middle-class family, born in Aydın and then moved to Ankara, Istanbul, and was able to go to Robert College, and I had to be studying with some scholarship there, as well as during Boğaziçi University, the same. I was needing the scholarship from Türk Eğitim Vakfı. So if you put it all together, I think having these great educational opportunities and having support beyond my family from some institutions like Robert College itself, but also the Türk Eğitim Vakfı and similar organizations, I started feeling the need of, I have to do something about it, giving back after I graduated and start working, which was immediately after college. So when I joined PepsiCo and then we started a program actually in the Southeast GAP or GAP region, we have seen that opportunity, and I was like, okay, the girls cannot go to school, we have to help them. We cannot change the mindsets of the fathers immediately, but if we can give them scholarships, at least that will help them to go to school. So that was the starting point. And then, of course, being the only woman in the room as a general manager in Middle East, in other regions, I said, I have to start my journey on diversity. So it continued like that. But I will talk more about it later,
absolutely.
I think.
But I think that you've hit one of the key components of why people mobilize and start acting. It's either a positive or a negative experience that you've had yourself. So if you had a negative experience, you say, we have to prevent this from happening to future generations. Or if you had a positive one, you say, more people should benefit from this. And I think that's a really important driver for where you, from a strategic point of view, what you can look into for your own lives as a leadership moment.
Yes.
Emine Hanım?
Thank you for TPF. Actually, I think it's very valuable for us all to be here, all this intellectual property in you. To be together is very valuable to all of us, and happy 23 Nisan, and many more to come. My experience actually comes from the family. We are a family, the Sabancı family, that We are of the motto of giving back. And so from a very early age, we enjoyed the concept of giving back. You're only as good as your community. So as the community rises, you rise more, okay? So with that concept, we grew up, and I think I have a friend from those days here. I think I was in 5th grade that I did my first activity with my cousin, and it was we made paintings, and then we said, okay, now we have a sergi, and we sold tickets, and then we were able to buy a television to a deprived school in Adana. So obviously that was a childish thing, and really weird paintings and on A4 papers, you know, but telling the grandmother saying you have to pay so much for the ticket, telling the uncle so much for the ticket, it worked. But giving actually gives me joy.
Yes.
Okay, but responsible giving.
Yes.
Because we will get into it later in detail. There's a danger in giving if you're not responsible about it. You're trying to solve a problem. If you're not tracking the problem, you could be creating more problems. So it's a family belief in us, and in Esas, it's one of the driving mottos of being a responsible citizen. This is very important. And then we will discuss the details later.
We'll discuss the details in our next tour. And Sinan, let's hear from you.
I mean, for me, my late grandfather, Feyyaz Berka, has always been a source of inspiration, kind of my true north. And his habits always, you know, were very fascinating to me. He spent a lot of time in organizations, and I think a lot of time trying to bring people together. And I very much believe that if we want to go, you know, if you want to go somewhere fast, you go alone. But if you want to go somewhere far, you go together. And it's really that kind of outlook and sense of bringing people together to collaborate that is a source of inspiration for me and what we do.
Love the collaborative angle, love the responsible investment angle, and love the personal motivation angle. So now let's get into the heart of it, which is I would really love to learn more about what you're doing today and how your business goals and your social impact goals are aligning, or if they're completely different, which is also a possibility. But Ümran Hanım, let's start with you. You have the Pepsi background, you have the Beba Foundation, and you even have August Leadership. Within all of these activities, you've forged numerous projects. Can you tell us a little bit more about how your experiences also shaped your vision of business and corporate responsibility?
Thank you. So I have been in the corporate world for 35 years. And in 2020, I decided that it's time to move on and move into the second career, basically. And I shaped it in such a way that I will do some consulting, executive search, advisory, diversity, equity, inclusion work based on my experience. The second pillar, board memberships. I am in the board of a UK company and a Turkish company, and also International Youth Foundation, which is represented here today. And the third pillar is our own family foundation. We established this foundation when we moved to the US. We moved in 2016, and then in 2018 we established it with my husband because he has also a background in entrepreneurship. You know him.
Sure.
He's a professor, so we said, okay, why don't we focus on innovation, entrepreneurship for youth and women? So the women angle, of course, comes very much from my side, but also him being involved in 10,000 Women program with Goldman Sachs. But my journey was really from 2006 onwards. I had to basically fight for women's rights and gender equality, diversity, equity, inclusion in the workforce because, as I said, you know, I was the only one, and kind of I had to bring more women in the senior ranks. And I was brought up with the PepsiCo's Performance with Purpose vision, with Indra Nooyi, and so basically you bring all those together, your personal values and your company values, and you come to this point. And today I feel like it's coming all together very nicely in a second career.
Could you summarize your biggest project right now? What your biggest initiative?
Yes. Basically, in Beba Foundation, we are focusing on entrepreneurship and innovation for youth and women, and we have a couple of pillars there. One is the competitions with universities. So basically, supporting young entrepreneurs to come and pitch in business competitions, and we support the top 3, seed money, but also mentoring and coaching on the journey. The second pillar is basically the mentoring, the whole mentoring, and the Million Women Mentors program with Turkish Win and Bin Yaprak is one of our projects. 1 million mentoring relationships in Turkey for women in STEM, but also now non-STEM. So it has been 3 years in that project. And the third area of focus is basically training and bringing entrepreneurship to schools with Darüşşafaka schools in Turkey now. We have a collaboration as Beba Foundation, and now in the 10th grade curriculum, there is a mandatory elective course, which sounds interesting, but it's on entrepreneurship basically, and it's a collaboration with them. So those are the projects under our family foundation.
Thank you so much. That's very helpful. And of course, entrepreneurship is near and dear to my heart. And I actually believe that entrepreneurial thinking, I don't think that everybody has to start their own company, but entrepreneurial thinking, or being able to identify a problem and turn it into an opportunity, is a survival skill for the next decades to come. In the panel before, we were saying, how are we going to reinvent ourselves when all the jobs are gone? Entrepreneurial thinking is going to get us there. So we all need to start absorbing those, just like reading, writing, etc. How you create your mental mindset and models is really key, which is actually a lot of the work that you're doing. Emine Hanım, I mean, you're really trying to break some paradigms. Could you tell us a little bit more about your activities?
Thank you. At Esas Holding, we have several business lines, and private equity, real estate, VC, WM, and social investment. In 2015, when the holding structure was all established and stable with its teams and managements and scorecards, we said, yes, it's time to give back. But we need to give back in a way that is responsible, sustainable, and innovative. So we established Esas Sosyal, and we established Esas Sosyal as a business line of Esas Holding. I think this is one of the differentiating factors of what we're doing, because Esas Sosyal is run with the same KPIs as the other business lines, reports to the CEO and ultimately to the board, and we don't touch anybody's money. This is another innovative approach for that. And we said, whatever we do, it needs to be entrepreneurial, it needs to be focused, and it needs to be socially and economically, the effects of it needs to be measurable. We don't want to just spend money here, there. We need to have the community know what we're doing, and we need to be addressed for that problem. So we said, what is the most important asset of Turkey? We used to say geography and youth. We don't say geography anymore, unfortunately. But the educated youth in Turkey is so important. It's a young population, and we're educating more and more the youth. But the more we educate, the more they are unemployed. So we are educating, building hope, and then collapsing. 15 months on average is unemployment time for university graduates in Turkey.
Frustrating.
This is really awful, because you have to think that most of these university graduates are the first university goers in their families, if not in their street and or town. So you're creating a social problem by not giving them opportunities. And so we developed the first program based on research and data. I think Murat Bey said, without data, don't use technology. Without data, don't do any business. We don't do any business in our other business lines without data and research.
Right.
So this is the same thing. We have to employ the same mentality here. And based on that, we looked, we said the most discriminated, who are the most discriminated? Women, for sure. And also universities that are second tier, that are not known to the human resources of the companies. They don't want to take the risk. But the university is new, networking is not there, referencing is not there, and so what chance do these people have? They get the scholarship, but what happens afterwards? So we developed a program. We said the $1 needs to go 2 kilometers, not 1 kilometer. We went to the NGOs and we said to them, if you have extra money, which job opportunity would you offer? And real jobs came out. So we matched these university graduates from second-tier universities into real jobs in NGOs. They work there for a year. They get 250 hours of World Economic Forum's academic soft skills. They learn English, they do networking, referencing, and we're building a community now. We will be going into our 10th year with these kids, and the unemployment rate is 0 once they finish the program. Then we said we need to, this is a problem that we're concentrating on. We need to look at another problem. English is another problem. So the first program was called Şevket Sabancı First Chance. The second program is Hayırlı Sabancı English Chance. And there we're giving 1 year English courses from Berlitz to last year university students. And we're building a community of people that we're touching. And I'm very happy to say that globally in Berlitz we have the highest completion rate. And I'm very happy that just over 50% of these kids who've gone through this program are in employment within 1 month of graduation, as opposed to waiting 15 months. Then of course you need to track your investment. Being responsibility you have to be responsible and track it. We built the alumni program on top of it. We are working with our alumni because now they're the next generation of people who are going to lead the programs. And I'm very happy to say in year 9, unemployment rate among the alumni is 3%.
Fascinating.
So we've been doing these things, treating Esas Social as a business line. Alignment with the company is Esas Social is a bonding agent among our business lines.
It's fascinating. I mean, it's a whole new...
I'm perfectly 000.
This is perfect timing. Perfect timing. The idea of creating this area as a business line is truly innovative, I think, as well. I don't know how many companies have done it specifically that way, because usually it's the business and then there's the philanthropy arm. But here you've actually made it all equal as a vertical, which is fascinating. Sinan, can we learn more about...
Sure.
So obviously you guys have Tekfen Ventures and you're investing in innovation, but there's a whole methodology to kind of what you're doing, so...
Yeah, I'm happy to share that. I mean, Tekfen, spans certain geographies in the region and 4 main sectors of construction, agriculture, manufacturing, and real estate. As a venture fund, we try to be a light and a guiding, helping guide the corporate strategy as well. But while we make our investments, we also want to focus on the impact that they have. And we want to create a story that I think our shareholders want to be proud of. Now, those 4 aforementioned sectors account for about 50% of global GDP, 2/3 of the global workforce, and about 70% of global greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
Now, in a world where population is rising, consumer habits are increasing, and the buying power is increasing, everyone wants to live like an American in the world, yet the world is constrained by finite resources in many ways. And a lot of these sectors have predominantly been underinvested. Like I said, 50% of global GDP, but yet only 6 to 7% of venture capital money goes to these sectors. So there's a big pressure and gap there that we feel like we can dive into and make a difference in. We look to a lot of technologies that have been around, just invented in the last decade, whether it's CRISPR-Cas9, the previous panel spoke about AI, and how those really will be transformative in our physical world. And we look to find, early stage companies and be a bridge to bring them to Turkey or to the region, impart our technical know-hows on those companies and help them grow. And by their success and their effect in the agricultural landscape, affecting farmers and creating a more sustainable world, is kind of the end result that we aim to achieve through our investments. So we're investors first, so obviously we want to make a return on our capital, but I think the secondary and tertiary effects of what that means for the environment, the economy, and the climate is our end goal.
Conscious capitalism. I love where the world is going, actually. If only we could get there faster, and all these ideas and the ethos could converge faster. So along the way, you've experienced kind of many probably challenges as well as best practices. You've learned some things and had some epiphanies. Could we talk a little bit about some of the best practices and also like the strategic approaches you've used to designating your fields of interest and your activities? And let's talk also about the mentorship program too, because on the one hand, you're supporting youth through students, you're supporting the communities through investments, and you're really trying to mainstream mentorship as a program area as well.
Yeah, I can start with that actually. So the Million Women Mentors program I discovered when I was in PepsiCo with STEM Connector. It was a partnership, and it was introduced in the United States. The initial goal was 1 million mentorship relationships for girls in STEM. And today, I think they are at 3 million relationships, so they exceeded the initial goal and 3 times. And I was personally involved in the Yonkers, New York district high schools, and I was able to see the impact for the, let's say, disadvantaged kids. So with that, I said, okay, we need to take such a program to Turkey. And the best practice here is, I think, bringing together all the different parties. So it started with STEM Connector, and then it was U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the U.S.-Turkey Business Council. Then, of course, Turkish Win, Bin Yaprak, Melek is here. Their structure of networking in Turkey. Then we had PepsiCo as one of the global partners knowing this organization, and the top Turkish, the Borsalar Birliği. So basically, when you have all these partners and having a best practice in another country, bringing that and establishing a goal for your own country is really a great experience. So 1 million sounds very aggressive, but in 10 years, why not? So we already engaged close to 200 organizations pledging and close to 100,000 mentoring relationships. I'm already a personal mentor. At this point, I have, I think, 5 girls that I'm working with. I'm an industrial engineer, so my relationships are mainly in engineering with industrial engineers, food engineers. So it's a great relationship, but we are adding a lot of NGOs, corporates, academic institutions, many organizations into this partnership. So it's all about really having a goal, track, measure, as we discussed, and having partnerships, and talk about it continuously to bring more parties into the game, I think. So that's what we are doing.
So is there a call to action there as well? I mean, can people in our audience, for example, volunteer to become mentors or bring their companies to become mentors?
So you can contribute to this program in different ways. One, you can be actually a sponsor to the program, as one of the founding members. Like Beba Foundation is a founding member, like PepsiCo, like some other Energisa, there are other organizations. So that's one way. Then you might have an ambassador. You might bring only your mentors to the game. You don't need to put any money, but just bring your mentors as an organization. If you are living in the US or some other countries, you can be a mentor. But because you don't have your own company, you can actually, with Beba Foundation, you can become a mentor. That's possible. So as long as you want to become a mentor, I think there is the infrastructure for that.
Yeah.
So just find me or find Melek. I think we will help you. If you're a student in the audience, I know there are some students, I think.
Yes.
Then, of course, they can apply as a mentee.
Yes.
And I'm sure from this group, like on the topic of AI, there will be a lot of interesting relationships between students and mentors, for example.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, I think that that's really where a lot of the value creation is happening too, right? When you're starting to bring multidisciplinary groups together and they're able to kind of coach each other on their respective groups, and that's where the beautiful synergies are being catalyzed from. So it's amazing and impressive. As we're wrapping up, I would like to do another final tour with your vision of where this world is going and maybe some call to action that you would like to share with our audience. But where do you see corporations and social innovation going in terms of this pace of convergence? We had all these wonderful discussions earlier. Today is the 23rd of April. It's Children's Day, which is a day of hope and optimism. So we are building a future for the next generation. So we have responsibilities there. We're having technology innovations that we have to figure out how to use them for social good, like artificial intelligence and generative AI. One of the topics we didn't talk about, which I think we should also talk about in another time, is longevity. I think that our lives are going to grow longer and longer. So how do we be healthier versions of ourselves past 100, past 120? And that's going to change actually the society that we live in as well. So within this context, what's your vision of corporations and social innovation?
Actually, we just launched the ESG report for the company that I am in. It's a UK public company in the food sector, freshly prepared foods. And this ESG report is focusing on, as you can imagine, the carbon emissions, but food waste, which is very important for that business, but also important for the environment and all the impact. Diversity, equity, inclusion, human rights, and then the community impact. So the community can be, in this case, children, it can be youth, it can be women in agriculture, especially in the food sector. There's a lot of focus on farmers and how you can improve their actual practices. So what I'm basically saying, as corporations, I think corporate social responsibility is not a separate topic anymore. It's part of their business strategy, part of their sustainability strategy, ESG strategy. And from there, you have the talent, HR, D&I strategy. So they are all linked and has to be linked. Therefore, as leaders, I think we have to develop a vision of doing it all together, hand in hand. But again, this is not an effort of one company. You have to collaborate. You have to work with other institutions, NGOs, government. So I think that's the way we can make it a better world, not only as one company, but as an ecosystem. And within that, I think these type of forums are great because we know what we are doing and learn from each other, and we can collaborate. I think if we are going out of this room knowing at least 2-3 other people we can collaborate with, I think that will be a great, quick outcome of today.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm looking for, because we can grow together, I think. That's my last word.
Fantastic. Thank you. More than ever, I think that the idea of sharing knowledge and insight and information and access to networks where we might not have our own and being able to collaborate and join forces is more important than ever. So that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Emine Hanım?
Well, I think I agree with Ümran Hanım that more and more corporates will integrate social investments into their business lines. They have to do that for survival, for sustainability. You have to pick up what are your values, what suits you, okay? You can support anything, but whatever you do, it needs to be measurable. Now, we've seen in the last 9 years, they're saying, oh, Emine Hanım, but I'm giving 300 scholarships. I say, that's great. What happened to them? They said, what do you mean, what happened to them? I said, this is a problem you're creating. How many of them did you call for an interview? You're a huge company, you're hiring the whole time. Let me go and check. Comes back, 0. So I hate quotas pushing things. I think things should be done naturally. But now, more and more, we're saying, you have to say to your human resources that if this is a company that is aiming for sustainability as a company, you cannot have 2 departments within the same company. One is giving the money away, the other one is not following that investment by calling them for an interview. These are things that the mindsets we need to change. We're seeing this a lot in Turkey, especially, that please give the amount that you can track. If you can't, then give to causes that are already established. You like XYZ cause, give it to them. You don't need to do it yourself. And also research database, and I want to say, I think most of you, everybody knows Cem Yılmaz. He had a saying describing a Turkish dinner table, little, little in the middle. I'm saying, please, no more little, little in the middle. Because scarce resources are everywhere, not just Turkey.
Sure.
So please, let's spend more knowingly, more visionarily. And 100% collaboration is so important. And you cannot handle anything on your own forever. And for example, in our First Chance program, the supporters, the corporate supporters, the NGOs, they give scholarships. In the English program, we need to find the right people who are going to complete the program so that we can say we're successful. But that takes money and time. Whereas the corporate supporter has given scholarship for 3 years. The NGO has given scholarship for 3 years. So we said, okay, fine. Your children, your university goers will have the first right of refusal. And just over 50% of the program comes from our ecosystem of 4,000 people. And this is, I think, very important because we're putting a brick building blocks, right? Philanthropy doesn't like ego. Philanthropy likes collaboration.
Yes.
This is very, very important. And on this note, I'm so excited. Our belief is that it's not fundraising, it's partnership raising.
Bravo.
Like Ümran Hanım also, I think, will agree. This is the way forward. Partnership raising is really important. And I'm very happy to say that TPF is already sponsoring our First Chance program. And very, very excited that as of last week, with Şenay Hanım, Pınar Hanım, and the entire team, and my team, Özlem, Berrak, and the entire team, they worked together and they established the Youth Employment Support Fund in TPF.
Perfect.
This is for all of you to invest via TPF into youth unemployment in Turkey. So, thank you very much. And
It's a great opportunity.
hand in hand, we'll do great things for a great country. As Hamdi Bey said, I believe in our country too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I like that it's not an ecosystem, it's an ecosystem. I really enjoyed that very much. Yes, Sinan.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at like opportunities, I think we're on the verge of really a generational opportunity as it comes to innovation in AI, climate, biology, healthcare as well, and there's a lot of technologies that make us really excited about it. And as similar Turkish conglomerates, we're very much industrial conglomerates most of the time. And having a CVC arm, a venture capital arm, I think is incredibly necessary for corporates to innovate. It's almost an outsourced R&D effort from the way I see it. And if we're able to kind of have a long-term vision on VC, about 10-year, 20-year vision within our corporates, which tend to be sometimes missed because you have earnings calls and everything else that is much more short-term. Trying to create that is really, I think, on a longer-term vision that a lot of patriarchs in these businesses had on the onset. And investing that capital over the long term, I think, creates so much value. And for a sustainable planet in the future, how these industries are going to be able to sustain our population, our lifestyle, and create a more livable world by the end of it is incredibly valuable. I mean, one statistic I'll leave you with is every month there's a New York City built in the world, the equivalent of that. Sure. So how that is built and with what materials and the greenhouse gas emissions that's going to later, we're going to leave to future generations is incredibly critical and something that we need to be very conscious of.
I mean, looking at venture capital as a source of social innovation capital is beautifully aligned, actually, because that's where all the innovation is coming from for the next generation. So it in unto itself, venture capital, yes, of course, it's a commercial interest, but it's actually investing in innovation and unknowns, right? So creating the next generation and the future tools and technology.
Yeah, we certainly look at kind of the secondary and tertiary effects of those businesses and what they will really leave behind. And I think, as stakeholder capitalism becomes a bigger issue, people want to be proud of the stocks they own. They want to be proud of the companies they stand with. So I think that's a story that we try to really push forward as well.
And I think that Emine Hanım was also mentioning that just in the previous round that, being able to invest in experimental things doesn't mean abandoning all logic, right? You're investing in experimental things, but you're still measuring, you're still tracking, you're still learning, and you're seeking opportunities for improvement. So it's not just this, donation where you just walk away, but investing in experiments and social innovation, that has to be the answer. And of course, within all of this, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, we also have the Turkish Philanthropy Fund, which is always there to help to identify the social agenda issues, identify partners, matchmaking. They're probably one of the best matchmakers I know, but the whole friends making and partnership building element of it, and just a collaboration and endorsement element is key. Those are the critical success factors, I think, of developing a robust social innovation community. And I think that's where we're going to wrap up. We're about ready to head into lunch. Ümran Hanım, Emine Hanım, Sinan Bey, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Hadi geçmiş olsun.
Çok teşekkürler. İsminizi çekecekler.